Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 153. England take on Argentina in the third of their Pool C matches, and a win guarantees a quarter-final spot, but the boys are looking for another 5 points. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. This is it. The tests really pick up now, and England with a chance to qualify today. I'm joined by Dan to discuss this. Hey mate.
Hello mate, how are we doing? This is a big one. If we just need to win to qualify, don't we?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be bonus point or anything.
Any extras, any losing bonus points for them make no difference. If England win the game and get their 4 points, 14 guarantees them qualification. Not in the top spot necessarily, but it guarantees them qualification.
Groovy.
Big.
Yeah,
lot of talk in this one about. Lots of people kind of saying England are under huge amounts of pressure with this game, and they're saying it's Argentina probably can't win, but England can lose. I don't know if that's necessarily.
What does that even mean? I mean, it's just such a shit comment.
I know. Well, it's one of those, isn't it? Like, oh yeah, but England could lose. I mean, that applies to literally anybody, any game at any time, and any team. You know, of course, England could lose. They're not going to. I think England have approached this the way that you'd want them to, getting better and better with each game. They're playing a squad that's, barring Joe Cokanasiga on the wing, with Anthony Watson in his place, identical to the squad that took Ireland apart in the warm-ups.
Okay.
Argentina have not looked very, very strong. Admittedly, they were probably unlucky against France, and they probably deserved to win that. Well, they definitely deserved to win that game because there was a crazy offside in those final moments for that interception try. But they've not looked particularly dominant side. The records are with England. I mean, what are your thoughts? How are you feeling about this game? Are you confident still?
Oh, I am. I'm definitely confident. This is our first real test. We were never going to lose the first two. This is our first real test, but I think we're in a great position. I think we need to be sort of careful not to sort of over expect, because a win's a win. There is pressure because this can guarantee us a place in the quarterfinal, and after 2015, we need to get that qualification done. So. If it's not pretty, I don't care. I personally think our power game's going to be too much for Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, look, talking about this game in particular, looking at Argentina as opposition, it's been it's widely accepted, I suppose, that Argentina try to be, front up. They try to be big in the pack. That's the scrummaging, the rucks, the mauls. That's the areas of the game where they're going to really try to assert some any kind of authority in this game. But I think England are one of the best in the world in that right now.
I agree. And actually, I would say now, as it stands, I think Argentina are probably more dangerous out wide in the back. And what we got to bear in mind for Argentina is it's basically the Jaguares. I know there's a couple of changes, like at 10. I know they've made a change at 10. But they do play together. They are a good team. They can score tries and they can take teams on, but the Argentina team's on the screen now. Man for man, I believe we are a lot better team, and I would be very surprised if we lost. I would go so far as to say England can't, Argentina can't win, but England can lose it. That's my take.
You'd go that far, would you?
Yeah, that's my take.
I think, look, let's put things in perspective. I mean, yes, Argentina beat Tonga, and I think in the end, you look at the scoreline and it appears reasonably convincing. But they were nilled in the second half, and of the 4 tries, because they got the bonus point, I think, of the 4 tries that they managed to get in the first half, 3 of them were literally gift wrapped. Just shocking moments from Tonga, just to saying, here you go, have a free run in, which you're going to do against any side in the world. So, I think the result in that game massively overshadowed how badly they played against Tonga. They lost against France, obviously, prior to that. Admittedly, in a much closer match. The records are against them. They've not looked the side that they were even in 2015. They've not had a good 4 years. So this for them is, they've said it themselves, this is their World Cup final. I mean, I think any team that's describing a pool stage game as their World Cup final clearly doesn't have huge ambitions.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean that does seem.
Does that speak to the mindset of these guys? Are they already mentally beaten? Because I get what they're saying. Like, it's a big game for them, and it's essentially knockout, because if they lose without any bonus points, they're probably going home. So it's obviously a huge game for them. But surely they're backing themselves to press on if they manage to qualify. And so, for them to describe this as their World Cup final, it feels a little bit like, you've.
Well, I think I see what you mean, but there's also, just to sort of counter that, there is also the case of they have to win. England, worst case scenario, but can afford to lose, as in that doesn't eliminate them. Argentina have to win, so they might be coming in just that bit more. But
it's knockout rugby for them. There's no question about that. Creevy has described it as it's going to be an all-out war. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that. But we're going to turn to the team, because that's one of the main things we want to talk about. But before we do, we've had another review, so let's get that. Let's get that shared. Cool. From Amal Catering. Again, I think this is one we have heard from before. Someone we've heard from before. It's Andy, in fact, from Newcastle. We have heard from him before. He says, keep them pods coming, 5 stars. Still loving the pods. Hopefully the next series will be called The Pod That Was Right and England Won the World Cup. Now for the Six Nations.
It may well be.
Go on, lads. You want to keep us rose-tinted fans happy and cover the Six Nations. I'd like to take this opportunity, pre-quarter-final qualification, to thank both of you, or 3 when the dog barks in the background, for your optimism and excitement regarding us winning the Webb Ellis Trophy on the 2nd of November. It's great to hear. Come on, England, and come on future pods after the tournament. Andy from Newcastle.
Wow, what a nice review. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that. That's good news, and he's right. We are come the 2nd of November. We are going to be lifting that William Webb Ellis. No, I like that one.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your comments, guys. If, like Andy from Newcastle, you want to let us know, you don't have to let us know quite so give us quite such a glowing reference if you don't want to. But if you want to get in touch, if you want to ask us questions, if you want to share any stories with us, or if you just want to drop us a review, obviously head over to iTunes, or you can reach us at England Rugby Pod on social media, or englandrugbypod@gmail.com. If you want to ping us an email, we'd love to hear from you guys. Anyway, to the main event, Dan.
Here we are.
As I said at the beginning, the team is pretty much the team that decimated Ireland. Looking at the way Ireland have been playing recently, that doesn't necessarily mean that much. But what are your thoughts? Are you happy with this side? Is this? I've just had a message from Billy to say, have you ever heard so many pundits and people in rugby refer to this as a gun 15? But is in your opinion, is this a gun 15?
Yes, it is. This is a gun 15. Sorry, Billy. So I was thinking about that team. I was going through it, and it was actually for my last pod for question. And sorry, Matt, I can't remember your name when the fella asked about who would pick from the 2003 team. And I mentioned Richard Hill. The only player who I think is unlucky at the moment is Wilson. I think Wilson's unlucky. Actually, not to be in the 15. I probably would have gone Curry Underhill anyway, but I think he was definitely in that chat. And I think he's unlucky not to be on the bench. But equally, I'm not sure that Eddie's saying this is his 23. I think Eddie's saying this is my current first 15.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the big and it's a note that I've made to talk about the concern, if you like, it's probably the wrong word, because no disrespect to Lewis Ludlam, he's looked really strong in this World Cup and he's there on the bench, but we do not have cover for Billy. Wilson is on kind of backup 8 in the event that he's needed at 8, but we know that his preferred position is 6. In the event that Billy has to come off, you've either got to have Curry, Underhill, Ludlam, or possibly a Cruz or an Itoje coming on at 8. What's your take on what do we do then? How do you shuffle things around in your opinion?
If Billy has to come off, okay, that's a good shout. If Billy has to come off, you put. Yeah, I think.
Or Laws.
I think. Yeah, I don't see Laws as an 8. I think you stick as a back three as Curry, Underhill, Ludlam.
Ludlam at 8.
Who packs down that 8? They will have done this in training. I would imagine it probably would be Ludlam packing down at 8. But what you've got to bear in mind, what I say, if Billy goes off, what I would imagine you'd see is changes up front. So Billy, where you're going to miss is that massive ball carrying. I think if Billy goes off, Mako comes on fairly quickly. So you've got the back row. Yes, you've lost Billy, which is huge. But then you put the pressure of Billy's carrying up front. So you put the likes of a Mako, because you've still got some pretty useful ball carriers.
Would you potentially put Laws into the row and perhaps put Cruz at the back?
I wouldn't put him at 8. I'm arguably a Itoje, but I think I'd bring on. I think if Billy's off, I'd want Ludlam. For me at international level, you need the back three have to be specialists.
Which is why it's perhaps a slight concern that Wilson is not there, or not so much a concern, but perhaps in terms of referring to this as the gun 15. I think you're jumping the gun a little bit, because Mako, I would imagine, would be in the first 15. There's a question about Jack Noel. Hopefully we're going to see his magic, as we have done for some time now, when he does come off the bench. And if we do, it's more headaches for Eddie Jones, but of the good variety. But he's another one that you've got to think seriously about. I feel like Jack Noel's probably going to be a replacement, even if he's first choice, just because of how much flexibility he offers. But it's hard to tell, and because he's been out for some time now, you get comfortable, don't you, with the guys that you're seeing week in, week out. I mean, look what happened with JJ. We'd kind of written him off because we hadn't seen him in a while, and he came back and was just awesome.
Yeah.
Watson
we've got
as well.
A lot. Yes, yeah. Watson to me, I'm going to go so far to say he's looking our best player.
I mean, but I think.
I mean, Tuilagi doesn't look.
And I think JJ, you can't. I mean, he's obviously not involved in the 23 today, but how much ground has he made? I mean, I'd love to see the stats. I have tried looking up, to see if there's any kind of comprehensive stats for this World Cup yet, and I haven't found any. So, guys, if you're listening, if you know of a resource for, the detailed stats, the Rugby World Cup website has a few kind of individual, who scored the most tries, who's got the most points, and those sorts of things. But I'm talking about, defenders beaten, yards made, that kind of stuff. If you know where any of that kind of information is available at the moment, let us know, because I'd be really keen to see how various players have been getting on and how the teams generally are stacking up. But I think JJ has looked really dangerous as well. So it's going to be, I think, picking the 23 for knockouts is going to be tough. We are, as you said at the beginning, we are still in that phase of, yes, we want to treat every game as a knockout. Yes, we want to win every game, because that's ultimately the way you win a World Cup. But we are still in that stage of, it's not the end of our World Cup if we were to lose here, which gives that little bit of flexibility to be able to do things that perhaps are taking bigger chances, like not having an out-and-out 8 on the bench as cover for Billy.
Yeah, so let me ask, other than that, is there any player in this 23 who you're concerns maybe the wrong answer, but is there any player in that 23 who you concerned about? Is there anyone at all that concerns you?
No one concerns me. I'm still I'm still have a little question mark over Elliot Daly at 15.
Oh yeah.
But that's the way we're going. I just want to see a bit more passion from him. I felt like it was a bit lacking in the last game, and maybe that's being unfair. I think Watson's just so dominant, both with ball in hand, and in the counter-attack. Elliot Daly is supposed to be this counter-attacking kind of danger man, and he kicked away 99% of his possession certainly in the last game, and I've completely made up that percentage. I'm sure it's not 99% at all. But he just, I don't know. It felt like especially in a game like like USA, like Tonga, where the opportunity presents itself to put a bit of pressure on it and to counter attack. That's what you want to see from an Elliot Daly, and there just doesn't. I haven't seen that from him for some time. Whereas Watson seems to do it every time he touches the ball. So, yeah, that would be the only question mark. But I get it. Eddie's made a commitment, so I'm not horrified by it.
I must admit, I didn't see that side. I mean, you've mentioned that a couple of times. I didn't see that. I don't think Elliot Daly's having his bad game. Let's hope he really fires on cylinders today, because if he does, he is dangerous as hell.
We talked about the Ireland game, and we talked about what the 15 looked like compared to the 15 that took Ireland on. The only difference, as I mentioned, Joe Cokanasiga's not there. I would have probably liked to have had him on the bench, and I know that we want to see Jack Nowell, so I get why he's not there. But I just think that we haven't, since that game, we haven't had Manu at 13 with Cokanasiga outside him, and I just think that Ireland game, the thing that really struck me watching that game was that when you had the two of them on the same side and the ball went wide, you felt like there was going to be a gap, because people that you get double man marking on both of them, and that's not possible out wide if you can move the ball quickly. So it would have been interesting to have that option, but that's not the route that we've gone down. So we'll see what happens. But I think Jack Nowell's the better player, so I'm not overly concerned by it at all. That's the only thing I get. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with the side, generally speaking.
Good. I think we're going. So let's. We've gone through sides and things. We're quite keen to be watching the program. So let's get to some. Sorry.
No. So the only other thing I wanted to talk about was two things. Firstly, Eddie Jones tried to talk to Nigel Owens in the Six Nations. It's encouraged that the coaches should speak with the referees ahead of the games, just to kind of get a bit of a briefing, make sure that everyone's on the same page in order to try and help the games flow. For the World Cup, that's been disallowed. That's not that. So even though Eddie Jones did try and reach out to him, he was kind of denied. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously the media makes a huge song and dance about it. They make out that Eddie Jones is trying to be sneaky and influence the referee.
Yeah, of course they do.
But actually, surely it's smart. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
With the referees all being so very different, and this is not about referees making poor decisions. This is simply about there are little nuances between the referees, and you do need to understand the differences so that you can play their style of rugby. Should it not absolutely be the case that the coaches should get a briefing from the ref?
World Rugby seem to have screwed up this ref situation quite a lot, don't they? Come on, clowns, sort it out. It just seems. Yeah, I'm with you. I think they should be allowed to chat. I think what I believe, if Eddie Jones is getting a audience with a referee, obviously it would have been the same. But the Argentinian coach the Argentinians must be made aware and said, do you want the same time? And if they do, of course they're allowed it. If they don't, so be it. That's their call. But yeah, I don't see any harm in it. But equally, if they're not allowed, they're not allowed. It's not the end of the world. I don't think it's. I think before the match, Nigel Owens will let them know exactly what he's looking for.
Yeah.
We'll say Nigel Owens is a brilliant ref. I'm not. It's not something that overly concerns me.
I'll reserve judgment until we see how he gets.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit on the fence. If he has a shit game, I'll be like, I told you Eddie should have had a chat with him.
Fair enough. All right. Well, look. We've got into the habit of doing this at half time, mainly because we've forgotten to do it at the beginning, and it's a big call when it's a potential qualifier. But Dan, predictions.
predictions. So I am going. I actually think the match is going to be a bit sort of tight from what we say. I'm going to go England 25-17.
Okay, interesting. I'm going England by 20.
Oh, wow.
Bonus point win, Argentina going home. But I think it will be close at half time.
Okay, that's...
But in terms of the actual score itself, not sure. I mean, I bonus point win, so I'm expecting England to get 4 tries. I think the kicking will be on point. So you're looking probably 30, 34.
Okay, what, 34-14?
That would be 20 point, wouldn't it?
That would be 20 point, yeah. It's not my first time doing maths.
It's not your first time. I remember my first calculation.
Well done.
So yeah, there you go. We've worked it out. 34-14, and you're saying 25-17.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm gonna make a note. We'll see how close we are.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we've ever been close with any result ever, but
well, it's the first time for everything. It's a bold call. It's a bold call. I could come. Well, I hope I don't come to regret making a prediction. But I just feel like England have just got better and better, and I feel like Argentina have been a bit stagnant. And obviously anything can happen. They've got quality. They've got a quality 23. Is it good enough? We shall see. So, guys, yeah, as Stan said, let's crack on and catch up on the latest build up, and we will leave you guys with the anthem and be back at half time. So that's half time, Dan. What are your thoughts? I mean,
it's a good first half from England. Firstly, talk to me about that clown we got playing at fullback, Elliot Daly. I mean, he's been awful, hasn't he?
I mean, clown is your word, but
mate, he's awesome. I've said all along he's awesome, and he's had a great first half.
Yeah, no, fair play. I mean, he's stepped up this game. He's looked far more the player that we were hoping to see, that we were expecting to see. I think I said beforehand, he was a question mark, not a concern. But yeah, the question mark has been swapped for a firm full stop. He's looking good. He's making the right decisions, and he's counter-attacking. This is what I said before. We wanted to see more of the counter-attack. There's been a few occasions in that first half where he could easily have just simply kicked the ball away, and he kind of looked as if he was contemplating it, and then he changed his mind and ran, and gives England an extra 20 yards, retains possession. Brilliant. So yeah, really happy with how that's going. Go on.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to say, sorry, we're jumping to it because obviously half-time short, but there's a lot to talk about. How concerned are we? Let's go for the only negative I'd say of the half so far. How concerned are we about the 9 points we've left out there? The 9 points from missed kicks.
Yeah, I mean, you can't afford to be doing that in World Cup knockouts. Well, anywhere in a World Cup. I mean, the fact that they're down to 14 men, and we'll come on to that in a moment. But that's huge. 24-3 is a very different scoreline to 15-3.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's significant, and we've seriously got to be thinking. Owen Farrell's seriously got to be thinking about turning to George Ford and saying, "You need to take over, mate," because it's not that Owen Farrell's a bad kick. He's bad.
He's having a bad day.
He's having a bad day, and sometimes you just got to go. Do you know what? We can't. This isn't a testing ground.
Yes.
Ford has been brilliant with the boot. So I think you have to turn to Ford and say, something's not clicking for me today. You take on the kicking duties, because we can't afford to do that again in the second half. Turning to that for the red card. It was a clear red. in my opinion.
Yes,
I'm sure there'll be people that will argue otherwise.
It's a red card. I don't think there's any malice in it. I actually
got his positioning wrong, but that's what the laws are there for. And yeah, it's the second time that Farrell's taken a pretty brutal hit.
He's hard as nails.
I was going to say, fair play for just shaking that off and carrying on. Because when they showed the replay, I winced.
Yeah, he's a tough lad, Owen Farrell. It's a red card. If I'm completely honest, like 100% red card, not arguing that. I was a little disappointed. I didn't want there to be a red card. I didn't want the Argentinian player to get sent off, but it was the right call, and you can't really argue with that, can you?
No, I think exactly that point. The look on the Argentine captain is making it quite clear that he's not happy with any decision, apparently. Yeah. But even that one, he and Mario Ledesma up in the stadium, you could see from the reaction that they both had. They knew.
Yeah, of course.
It was clear cut. This isn't one that is going to be debated. Should it? Shouldn't it? The right call was made, and unfortunately, like you say, it wasn't malicious. But that's what they're trying to stamp out of rugby, and rightly so. So, it's unfortunate for Argentina. This is such an important game for them. It's good for England because it didn't result in any kind of injuries, and we have the advantage. And I think anyone who's looking at this, and okay, they've stepped it up now, 3 tries in. But anyone who's looking at this and thinking it's far too close, it's 15 against 14, England should be winning by more. England have a game plan. And it's quite clear to me that, it's control the game, it's control possession, it's push Argentina back into their own half as often as possible. The tries, the points, they're going to come. And actually, it's already starting to show. I think their game plan was for 15 men because of the 14 man, the man advantage. It's kind of it's stepped up in terms of the timing, and we're starting to see them open up now. But I always expected England to open things up in the second half. They've just managed to start doing it in the last 10 minutes of the first half instead. So, I think this is going to end up being a comfortable win for England. We've obviously made the mistake of saying that once before.
I don't want to jump the gun here because we have had these scenarios before, but
England are in control of the game.
England are very much in control.
There's still a few mistakes for sure. But nothing that they don't appear to have fixed already in terms of little handling errors and stuff. The kicking is a concern because you can't be leaving 9 points on the field. So I think it'll be very interesting to see who takes the first kick of the second half. I think if it's under the post, give it to Owen Farrell. Just let him get that duck off his back or whatever the phrase is.
I think just say to Owen Farrell, hey, look, you're doing well out there. It's not your kicking day today. Give it to George Ford and just completely take that pressure off him. Being like, in fairness, Owen, most people wouldn't even be able to see the ball after the collisions to the head you've had over the last couple of weeks. So, don't worry about it. But
I have to say, I'm getting a lot of abuse on Twitter. It was tongue in cheek when I posted it, but the red card incident. Nigel Owens initially said, "Fair play, play on."
Yeah, no foul play. I think that was great refereeing overall. No, Nigel Owens didn't think there was foul play. The TMO saw there was. He went back to Nigel Owens like, fair enough, we'll check it out. Yeah. And I think that's exactly what it's for.
I think in those situations, I think pick your battles, Nigel. I don't think that is the prime candidate situation for taking Owen Farrell to one side and telling him he doesn't need England, telling him what to look at. When you get one that wrong, you say play on, turns out it was a red card. I think there were other incidents where he could have turned around to Owen Farrell and said, I don't need to hear from the England team about decisions. Because, we've seen a lot, rightly so, the guys are like, what's going on? Why are we playing on? But tongue-in-cheek, I posted saying, turns out maybe he does need the England team to tell him. Anyway, the whole of Wales appears to have decided to pitch in on that one.
Yeah,
the irony. But
it's a shame about Wales, but I think you're right. You do deserve the abuse.
Okay, good. Thanks for joining us. Well, there's probably not a lot more that we really need to digest in this first half yet. It's not perfect, but then how often is it? England doing what they need to do. They're building the score. They're in control of the game. They just need to do the same in the second half. The Argentines, they're starting to tire, and I think it's only going to become more difficult for them with that man down. England just got to keep that pressure on, and I think they're going to come away with a strong win.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. But like I say, my only level of concern at the moment is the kicking. I'm sure that'll be rectified. I hope this is actually a great like not training ground, but learning ground for the England team. We have had big leads before, but we're thrown away. Now is the time to show that has changed, that is no longer something England can do. And I think that'll give them huge confidence. If they come away, get a good win now against a good team, I think that'll give them huge confidence moving into the knockout stages and beyond. Well, not and beyond, and to becoming world champions. The only other thing I'll say, two things about the Argentinian side. Their chop tackling has been absolutely brilliant. I think they've nullified a lot of the Billy Risk and our heavy carriers up front. And their kit, I love their kit.
Really?
Yeah, I think it looks really nice.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, that was all.
Fortunately, I could edit that out.
Well, please don't.
Yeah, let's crack on. Let's see if there's any if we can catch any of the last of the kind of the halftime chatter. But let's look forward to this second half. Hopefully, we're coming back equally as energetic at full-time whistle. I would like to see at least another 3 tries in the second half. I think if they can score 3 tries in the first half, they should definitely be able to repeat that in the second, if not more. And I'm expecting a strong, comfortable victory. What do you think?
I'm expecting. I'm expecting a positive victory. I'm expecting changes. I'd like to see a few changes. And I think we'll. I think that England will take this game to control it. I'm not saying they will absolutely go on to rout them, but I think they'll control it and come away with a good win. Good.
Right. Well, we will be back in just a moment, guys, and we'll see how things pan out. And there it is, Dan. England have qualified for the knockout stages. We've made the quarterfinals. That is guaranteed. Obviously, one game left to go to secure top spot, assuming that's what we're going for. But another bonus point win, 15 points from 3 games. Not a bad start to the 2019 Rugby World Cup.
Well, it's an awesome start. It's absolutely brilliant. In some ways, that was a bit of an anticlimax because despite previous slip-ups, we did it. It felt at half-time as if we'd won it. I thought we'd have to fight harder for that quarter-final spot. And fair enough, there was a lot of there was a lot of stuff going on with the red card and things which did change the dynamics a bit. But great result. Do you know, there were a few things that I really enjoyed out of that in the second half, enjoyed more. I love the fact that we got to see Mako and Jack Noel back. Jack Noel scoring a great try, give them some game time. But I think the thing that I really enjoyed was the fact that when there was a danger at one point where we were going to let Argentina back into it, I don't mean there was a danger we were going to let them come back to sort of win. But when that looked like that was happening, England then, took note, went down, went up the other end and scored a try. So there wasn't any of that slip up where we just give away a huge lead. And to me, that was huge.
Yeah. We said it at half time, England controlled that game, and they said it in sort of post-match commentary. There is always that danger that when you are looking to control a game like that, you can kind of get a little bit lost in trying too hard not to try too hard, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think, if things had been a little different, if they'd kept if it stayed more competitive at 15 men aside, I think England actually would have had probably better control of the game. George Ford put it quite nicely. He said, when they were a man down, there's a bit more space in the field and you get seduced by that space. And actually, it's important to be able to fix that. But, they did. And look, bottom line is England needed to win the game, first and foremost. And ideally with a bonus point, which they had at 60 minutes.
That's a great result against Argentina. Yeah. I mean, if at the start of a game someone said it's going to, 39-10 or whatever it was.
39-10 was the result. I mean, if someone at the beginning of the game had said, 34-14, for example, they'd have been pretty close.
I mean, they'd have been wrong.
They'd have been wrong. They'd have been wrong for sure, but they'd have been pretty close. Whereas if someone had said, 25-17, for example, they'd have been way out.
I think you're either right or you're wrong. I don't think there's any middle ground.
How it works? Fair enough.
Yeah. But it was. Do you know what? That was a great result. We'll take that. And yeah, at the end, as I said, England maybe a bit lackluster last 20. But why would you go full out last 20?
No, for sure.
When there was a danger, like I say, when there was a danger of Argentina coming back into it, England just sort of like, nope, we're not going to allow that to happen. And great.
Dan, let me ask you. So, I mean, we're obviously biased openly anyway, but, as England fans, you're always going to be a little bit biased towards a positive result. There's a lot of people, I don't need to name the countries, but it's probably obvious, who are screaming that Nigel Owens ruined that game and reffed it poorly and, didn't give out cards to England where they deserved them. Did you feel that there were incidents in which England were lucky to get away without cards? I personally didn't.
No, I didn't at all. I thought Nigel Owens was brilliant. I really did.
I thought he reffed it well.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. Well, I'm trying to think of any incident where I think England were lucky. No, I don't think so.
I guess you've got the Manu Tuilagi tackle in the air, although he was in the air by about an inch. So I think Nigel Owens rightly said penalty, but no more. You've got the Courtney Lawes late hit, but when you watch the replay of that, he jumped across the guy. He did pull out, and actually, it looked more like he kind of brushed against him. And I can't remember which Argentine player it was, but I felt they made a bit of a meal of it. They got their penalty.
A bit of a meal? Are you kidding me? I've seen worse performances than the West End. It was a meal. But do you know what? I thought Nigel Owens. I felt he was completely fair to both teams. And the problem is, once there's a red card, everyone always thinks biased. But there was absolutely no choice.
I mean, in Nigel Owens' defence, he tried to let it go.
Yeah.
He called play on fair tackle. So, he did his best to let them get away with that. But, when the TMO called it back, there is no, and not just, it wasn't just the referees that could see it was a red card. Everyone watching, including all the players, and the Argentine coach and the Argentine players, they all knew. We said it at half time, there was no malice in it, but those are the risks that you take, and again, as they said in post-match commentary, these changes in the laws are there for the right reasons. We do want to get players tackling lower, and unfortunately, when you make these changes, it does take time to get the message across, and usually that requires these punishments in the form of red cards. Yeah, we don't want to see a red card in every game, and we don't want to see the World Cup decided by a red card, but the message shouldn't be that the referees are giving out too many red cards, which incidentally is the opposite of what people have been complaining about throughout this World Cup. The message should be to the players, don't risk losing the game for your team by getting a red card, tackle lower.
But the laws are blamed for them. It was a red card. I don't think anyone is now or ever will argue that decision. I liked that England performance. What did you think about Underhill as man of the match?
I thought Underhill was brilliant. I thought he worked really hard. He's in a position that's a little bit. We've talked about it over the years. There are certain positions that go slightly more unnoticed. They're not the flair players, but Underhill worked hard from start to finish in that game. And I thought it was well deserved. Whenever he took the ball up in contact, he made ground and he was aggressive. He was aggressive in defence. Some big hits. Safe hits, or at least safe in terms of the laws. But he does it every time, doesn't he? He puts his body on the line, and he did it again today. And I thought, thoroughly deserved. Go on.
I would have gone Elliot Daly. I thought Underhill was brilliant as well. When I asked that question, it made it sound like I thought Underhill wasn't great. I did think he was great. I thought Elliot Daly had an absolute stonking game. I must admit, the person I thought who was off his game a little bit was maybe Owen Farrell.
I 100% agree. Not just with the boot, which he was obviously questioned about in post-match interviews. And as we said, sometimes you just have a bad day with the boot and it's just not coming together, and he sorted it out.
But I think I was right at half time to say make sure he stays kicking.
Yeah, you were definitely spot on when you made that big call.
I'm good, like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess fortunately for him, England didn't have that many opportunities to kick in the second half. It was a strong win, but it certainly wasn't the destruction that I had hoped for and predicted in that second half.
Well, there were three more tries in the second half, weren't there?
But yeah, I thought in open play, I thought he just seemed to lack something. He often, on quite a few occasions, he would find the ball, going backwards, but he would find himself with the ball and not seem to know, should he run, should he kick, should he look to pass, and then he'd get caught. So yeah, for me, that wasn't his best game by any stretch. But he is a world-class player, and I have no doubt that he'll turn that back on. But I thought George Ford was brilliant again in controlling the game from 10. So when the changes were made, and I get why, but part of me was wondering whether Slade might come on for Farrell as a straight swap.
Yes. Part of me was wondering that. I enjoyed it. What did you think about Curry going to 8?
It worked. It obviously...
Yeah, it did work. He played quite well there.
Let's not forget that from 15 minutes on, it was 8 against 7 in the scrum. So, actually, you're the guy that you put at 8 it's a lot easier when you're under that much less pressure.
Of course.
So it's hard to know whether or not you would see Curry as a serious replacement option at 8, in a competitive game 15 on 15. But under the circumstances, yeah, thought he did a good job at 8. England were pretty dominant by that stage for obvious reasons, and he controlled the ball well at the back, and there's some nice little pick and goes. But again, he looked strong. He had a good game again. I thought the back three in the pack, it worked again with the kamikaze twins. Billy, a little bit of a concern, or do we think just a bit of a niggle?
Little bit of a concern, and I want him rested for the France game.
I think you have to, even though we do want to win because you want to keep a winning streak. The worst case scenario is that we lose, but we were already qualified, and therefore we have the easier run. But it was interesting that they were saying, he's not been brilliant. He's not been the kind of the world class Billy that we have seen in the past, and I think that's probably fair. Maybe that's because today Argentina just nullified.
Teams are recognising his threat hugely, and teams are putting in place plans to.
There were a number of occasions where he would find himself out on the wing, or not quite out on the wing, but at outside centre, and you were thinking, right, now you need to give that ball to Anthony Watson, because what he can do with ball in hand on the wing is going to be more advantageous than what Big Billy's going to do on the wing. And he didn't. He held on, went into contact, and the tackles got made, and down he went. And yeah, I just feel like if you're gonna play out wide like that as a big impact player like Billy Vunipola, you need to be, especially as we know he's got good hands. You need to be aware of the guys outside you and what they're capable of doing, and use them. It's not always about the contact. That the contact is very strong when you're getting over the gain line, in amongst the pack and driving England forwards. But if you're going to find yourself out wide, I think just be a little bit more alert.
Yeah, what I liked about, like, when Billy went off and Lewis Ludlam came on, suddenly Lewis Ludlam, who fairly unknown, I would have thought, on the World Rugby stage, is his carrying, I thought, was pretty good.
Yeah, he looked really strong as well. I thought, England had it was a good game. It wasn't razzmatazz, but they controlled the game and they did what they needed to do and some. So I think people have to look at that and say, look, that is another step up.
Yeah,
the competition is getting more difficult, and it's easy for us to now kind of say, well, Argentina, they're a good, strong team, and England did well to beat them so well. Argentina have been poor; they've been going backwards. That's now 10 on the bounce that they've lost against England. They've not been a great side, and yeah, they're passionate and they're physical, and they showed that today.
It's a World Cup to forget for them, for sure.
Yeah, but, I feel like they were always going to lose.
Yeah, it was.
And so I think it's actually not fair. It's probably not fair to them to say, they fought hard and
they didn't. They didn't really
good.
seem to want it as much as I thought they would.
No. So, yeah, would we have liked to have seen a bit more sparkle from England? Sure, because as fans, that's what you want to see. But I don't know any true rugby fan that wouldn't say, "I'll take whatever you would describe that game as with that result over sparkle, and who knows what the result might have been." So yeah, I'm very happy.
Yeah, mate, I'm really happy with that. So what do you want to see against France? Do you want to see our gun 15, or do you want to actually see a bit of a mix and match?
I think we're at a stage now where it's not so much about mixing and matching. They've got a strong 31. There's probably a few changes. I would probably be inclined to maybe start Jack Null.
Yes.
But I don't think that's about trying things out. That is already tried and tested, so we know what he's capable of. I'd probably say have Joe Cokanasiga on the bench because it's an option that offers something a bit different. If you're not 100% about Jack Noel, maybe start Big Joe and have Noel on the bench, but give him a little bit more game time this time around. But again, it's not so much about trying things out. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if you do that, then you're leaving out either May or Watson. Now, May had a bit of a niggle. Who knows? Maybe in a week's time they'll want to just give him a rest. But equally, if it's difficult to leave either one of them out. And as you said, Elliot Daly has suddenly come back to life again. So you don't really want to start messing around with him at the back. So yeah, it's hard to know. I suspect that they will keep things much the same. They may well do. I wouldn't mind seeing, bearing in mind what's to come, I wouldn't mind seeing actually perhaps a few. Definitely, I'd like to see Billy rested. I'd like to see Mako start. I'd like to say Jack Noel, I'd like to see start. I don't mind if we put out what is considered maybe a lesser starting 15 against France. I still think we'll win. Whatever 15 we put out, I think we'll win. Maybe the key is, look, we want to put out a gun 23, but not necessarily start with the best 15, and have that ability to bring on, depending on how the game goes, have that ability to bring on players that are going to make have a bigger impact. Maybe that's a way to go, because that way you're the likes of Billy. He could be on the bench if you want to involve him again. That may not be an option. We'll have to wait and see what the outcome is of him coming off at half time today. But if he's fit and raring to go, it may be that we say, look, let's start someone else, but we've got him there. So if it's not working, you can bring him on. Likewise, maybe Owen Farrell has a.
Owen Farrell's had a rest. I wouldn't mind seeing Owen Farrell play. I wouldn't. Part of me wants to keep that Ford Farrell axis going.
I think it's the right call. I think George Ford's been playing really well. I just want Owen Farrell to just be a bit more switched on next week, which he often does. If he has a bad one, he often comes back really strong. So that's what I'd like to see. It'd be interesting to see what they do about the kicking duties. Whether it sticks with Owen Farrell.
I think they'll stick with Farrell, and I think that's a reason he might play, to get him out there, get us kicking again. The France game, obviously we want to win, but it will equally be, let's not hide behind it. It's not the end of the world if we lose that game. So,
I mean, at this point, so France are on 9 points at the moment. They have got Tonga tomorrow,
and England.
Which
if they lose,
I mean, yeah. Well, so firstly, if they lose to Tonga, they're on 9 points, with no bonus points. They would come to face England with 9 points to England's 15.
Yeah.
So even a bonus point win for France wouldn't get them ahead of England.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't. But
so at that point, I think England have a very, suddenly it's like, well, actually, let's play a second team, potentially. Because actually, a loss, we're still first. Do you know what I mean?
No, because if England beat Tonga tomorrow, they'll go on to 13 points. And then if they beat us...
France, you mean? Yeah. No. So what I'm saying is, tomorrow, France play Tonga. If they were to lose, and not get any bonus points from it.
Oh, right.
They can't get ahead of England no matter what happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
So at that point, do we? Here's a question for you. If that was the case, I don't think it will be, but if that was the case, do England look to rest their big game players?
Yeah,
completely?
Absolutely. I think regardless, you look to rest a few of the players waiting. I think we're good enough to beat France. Whatever team.
And so yeah, and if France do beat Tonga convincingly and get the 5 points, putting them on 14 to England's 15, do we go into that game? I mean, you are right. There are two ways of going at it, isn't there? There's you want to win every game because winning breeds winning, and no team's ever won the World Cup having lost a game in the build up to it. But the other side of the draw is looking considerably easier.
Yeah, I mean,
I think England are going to want to win everything. I think they're going to want to keep that winning streak going. I think there's more value in that. I think once you get into the knockout stages, despite talking about an easier route, you're still playing teams that are capable of beating you.
Yeah, of course.
And so you've got to be at your best regardless. You might as well do it in the hardest way possible and get to the end and say, look, you can't be questioned. Yeah,
no, I agree. But great result today. Great win. England are in the quarterfinals of the World Cup.
The first team to qualify at the 2019 Rugby World Cup, England. We called it 2.5 years ago and said they were going to win this World Cup. They're the first ones to ensure that they're in the knockout stages. They've got maximum points from their 3 games. Pretty happy so far. I mean, how amazing is it going to be if we've been this arrogant and for it to all come good?
It will do.
It all comes good, Dan.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Well, look, there's going to be some interesting games to discuss midweek. Up next, Japan, Samoa. I mean, although it should be a comfortable win for Japan, it's going to put them in a really strong position as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be good, and like you say, our midweek we'll be able to cover all these and go through it. I think Japan will win that one, and I think there's going to be some. Certainly this midweek pod's going to be really interesting because the shape of the quarterfinals is going to become a lot clearer.
Well, absolutely, and the France Tonga game is big because Tonga took Argentina pretty close in the grand scheme of things, and arguably Argentina should have beaten France. So, certainly don't write Tonga off just yet with that one. So that'll be one to watch. Argentina, USA, it's a bit of a dead rubber now. I'm not sure. I haven't done the maths. I'm not sure whether there is a situation in which Argentina can qualify or whether they are officially on the plane home yet. But I suspect it's not looking great. The big one next week is Wales against Fiji. Although I suspect that now Wales we know they're not guaranteed to qualify, but yeah, so math's not done. That'll be one to watch. I think Wales probably got that without too much trouble, but Fiji caused Australia some problems, and who knows. So that'll be another good one to keep an eye out for. And that'll take us into next weekend when all the final decisions will be made, and some really big ones there. So an exciting weekend, and certainly the first half of the week ahead. I think we'll probably look to record on, probably leave it till certainly Wednesday afternoon. After
Wednesday, Thursday, I think
in those 2 games. So Wednesday, Thursday next week. But yeah, guys, look, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this pod. Hope you enjoyed the results, and you're all pumped for the fact that England are the first team to qualify into the quarterfinals of the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Well, I know we are. As we said at the beginning, if you get an opportunity, head over to iTunes, rate us, review us, let us know what you think. If you want to get in touch, share some stories. Maybe you're out in Japan and you're tuning in. Let us know how it's all going. Ask us any questions you've got at England Rugby Pod on social media, englandrugbypod@gmail.com if you want to ping us an email. And we will be back midweek to let you know what's been going on in the rest of the World Cup. But for now, awesome work from the England boys. Long may it continue. And go and have a good rest and then get back to training, lads.